He said that he's leaving the APC. Or they've given him red card. And he's going to wait a moment. Is it possible that an Oshiomhole leadership can lure back Otom to the APC?
Now, when the governor says he's been asked to come home, I want to ask, where is home? APC or PDP? Because he's built houses in both locations. But here is the important thing, and the governor was very careful and deliberate in his choice of words. He said, I have been given a red card by my leader in Benue State, not my leader in Abuja. And the mere fact that the governor is not making a drastic move from his party to another party is indicative.
Usually what you see is that they will announce a new party.
Yes, it's indicative of the fact that it's kept a window open for negotiation.
That's going to be interesting. Dr. Amadi, there has been talks. I've heard from politicians in the past days that there will be a movement of 3 governors and about 50 federal lawmakers out of the APC. Is it a pointer to what some of them have told me, or perhaps an Oshiomhole can weigh in and use his weight and his political sagacity, if you may describe it like that, to make sure that some of them stay in the party?
Well, I think politics is the art of the possible. And therefore, that means that Oshiomhole can actually do things to stem the tide of the exit. But let's put it this way, the odds are very stacked much against his effective management of this crisis. First, each of these Nigerian politicians see politics basically as a promotion of self-interest. And so for someone like Otom, for example, if you have taken out the structure from the governor, if you had transferred leadership to a leader who is opposed to his interests, the only way you can reconcile them is perhaps to give back the structure to him and guarantee him a second term. So the carrot and stick that the leader like Oshiomhole can use is all about repositioning, taking away from somebody and give to somebody. So it's a zero-sum game. If somebody wins, somebody loses. So if you look at some states where there are competing leadership, where the incumbents are not being allowed to function, or where senators are treated by the incumbent, it's difficult to really work hard to make sure that everybody stays under one roof, because you are dealing with interests that are not basically fungible. That means it can't create much value and share. If somebody wants to go for a second term and his godfather doesn't want to go for a second term, there's little he can split in that scenario.
All right.
Because it's like a zero sum. He has to either get second term or he doesn't get it. So I think because politics is out of possible, Oshiomhole has a lot he can do. He has the skills, he has experience, but he's also constrained by the very personal and sometimes conflicting interests that creates this crisis in those states. So he could do his best, but essentially we would expect some degree of implosion. Perhaps not as much as analysts have scripted, but some degree of implosion will happen in spite of Oshiomhole's leadership qualities or ability to manage crisis.
All right, let's get to another issue, which is very important. The outcome of the Ekiti governorship election. Mr. Adigba.
Yes.
With what has happened, impact on APC and the PDP, what does this mean for both parties?
Look, the Ekiti election, the outcome of that election for me ordinarily would have just passed like any of the states. But I think the stakes were made much higher by the behaviors of the major contending parties and their candidates, and especially the outgoing governor, who probably looked at this contest as a coronation for his party. I mean, at the point he said to everybody, listen, even if you bring the president, the IGP, and the chief of army staff to Ekiti, I'm on ground. I'm going to make sure that they are defeated and they are put to shame. And so that raised the stake of the election. But having said that, I think what happened in Ekiti was a free expression of the voters in Ekiti. And look, like I said to you once, what passes an election as free, fair, credible? It's not the opinion of politicians. You can never get it right with politicians so long as they don't win. What makes it free or fair or credible is whether the election was conducted in substantial compliance with the laws governing that election.
All right. Dr. Amadi, What does that election mean for our democracy? Election will hold in Osun State and ultimately in 2019.
Well, I think the use of the word free, fair, and credible has become much devalued in Nigeria. I think the outcome of that election could stand. I mean, they have gone to court. There are a few irregularities that perhaps the court will have to interpret as whether they are substantial enough as to impinge on the fairness of the election. But one thing is clear. From the report of all those who monitored the election, this is, somebody call it political stock market, trading on votes, basically. People bought and sold, and maybe some people had bought others. I don't think it's anything credible. I think there's a danger in our elections now, that elections have become more criminal and more corrupt than... In fact, INEC should take responsibility, in my view, to step in and look at whether they are supervising, more like a laissez-faire watchman, supervising a process that totally defeats the idea of democracy. So if the report, starting from what we got in the last election up to Ekiti now, and even Anambra, of massive buying of votes, then it calls to question. We should leave the word credible, free and fair, and perhaps say elections have concluded and winners has emerged. I know that it's possible that if they were done...
Dr. Amadi, Ms. Adiba does not quite agree with your view. And Ms. Adiba...
I don't share, with due respect, I don't share that view. And this is because, look, from the reports that we are hearing, all the political parties were involved. And of course, we must understand, INEC don't share money to voters. Political parties and politicians share money to voters. And look, for all we care for now is just in the realm of speculation. Nobody can prove sincerely that money went out. But even if, assuming that happened, it happened across
the major parties.
Major parties. So why should anybody be complaining? So you and I go to rob a bus of 13 passengers.
God forbid.
God forbid, yes. But I rob 7, you rob 6. It is not in the number that I rob that the crime is. It is in the act itself. So if both parties are involved in sharing money, why would the fact that one shared more, you know, have negative impact in the process, and the other complain about the process?
Ms. Adigba and Dr. Amadi, I must sincerely thank you for your thoughts tonight. It's been an engaging one. I've been very, a lot of thoughts put into those responses tonight. Thank you so much, Dr. Sam Amadi, law lecturer at the Base University, and Mr. Curtis Adigba, a political development consultant. Thank you, gentlemen, for time on the show. Thank you all also for watching tonight. Thank you also for staying with us all through the coverage of the election. Until next time, I'm Sean Kimale. Bye-bye.